everyone, and welcome to our Q&A for the film First Date.
I know you're thinking paint's kind of faded and the chrome's not so bright, but this thing runs like a scalded dog. What do you say?
Hey. I gotta run upstairs. I'll be there around 8.
No problem.
Where's the car? If I'd have known, you think for 1 second I would have sold that kid the car?
If I don't get my drugs, I'm gonna kill everyone.
My name is Scott Mantz. I'll be moderating this, what is sure to be a very fun and enlightening and very entertaining conversation. Joining us from the film, playing Darla, we have LEAH FINITY, playing the captain, Jesse JANSEN, Vince, Ryan, Quinn Adams, Sergeant Davis, Nicole Berry, as Kelsey, SHELBY DUCLOS, as Mike, TYSON BROWN, and we have writer, director, producer, DP, camera, editor, scorer, key grip, MANUEL CROSBY. So excited. Give yourselves all a big hand for this wonderful film, which premiered out of the 2021 Sundance Film Festival. And Manuel, I'm going to start with you because the play's the thing. How did this come about? What inspired you and your writing partner and co-director, Darren Knapp, to write this film? What was the inspiration here?
Oh, thanks. And thanks for having us, Scott. This is we're really looking forward to this conversation. You know, Darren and I, we became friends because we both loved similar movies, you know, and particularly movies from kind of the mid 90s just sort of had gotten us both really excited about making movies when we first got into it. And so back in 2017, I was hanging out at Darren's house and we were watching a bunch of those movies, and I was actually having car problems at the time. And so I was just complaining about that one day over breakfast, like how annoying it is that anytime you buy a used car, you just never really know who had it before you, how they treated it, you know. They're always going to say that they took great care of it, but it's never true. And, you know, we were just joking around. That'd be a great idea for a movie, you know, like a high school kid buys his first used car and it has an even crazier backstory than he thought. And we just got really excited about that and started throwing funny scenarios back and forth. And by the time we were done having breakfast that day, we had most of the plot points of this movie outlined. And we were like, oh my gosh, like it just kind of fell out of the sky. So then from there, you know, we started working on the characters, and, you know, the more we were diving into it, the more I just got really excited about it. I was starting to see, you know, images from the movie in my head and like feeling the vibe. And before we even started actually writing the script, I really knew that it'd be awesome to make it happen. So that's kind of how it came about.
Wow, I got to tell you, TYSON, the first time you read the screenplay, like, what did you think? Like, what was your take on what was going on, and what was your take on Mike?
I was nervous. Honestly, I was quite nervous because I'd never done anything like this before, and just knowing like that Mike was the lead in the film and the story, I was like, okay, big responsibility, big shoes to fill. And I was excited just due to like the roller coaster of events that happened in the film and the story. So I was really excited to get into like the action scenes and all the other stuff and doing my own stunts and just doing all kinds of emotions and stuff, ranging from like all kinds of dramas they put in the film, which worked out perfectly. So I was overall excited but nervous at the same time, so that I didn't waste anyone's time and just trying to do the best I can do. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're like the through line through this movie here, you know. So, Shelby, what about you? Were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you both? What was your take on the screenplay when you first read it?
I was excited when I read it. I'm honestly, my first thought was like, how are they going to do all this? Because I read the entire script. I was lucky enough to get to do that, and so I was like, I love this, but like, how is this? I was just more interested in like, how are we going to make this happen? You know, I knew we weren't in like LA or anything like that. So I'm like, this like shootout scene, like I'm excited for it, you know. I never thought I was like an action type like actress. So I was just kind of excited to like dive into that and, you know, see what I could do with it. And it was so much fun.
Yeah, just watching this movie, like, so watching First Date for the first time back in January, I was like, this movie looks like it was as fun to make as it is to watch. And Nicole, is that an accurate assessment? Did you all have like just a ton of fun just going for it and throwing everything out there and seeing like how it was going to land?
I had a wonderful time. Yeah. I hope that everyone had a wonderful time. It's not all play. I will say, you know, like I've worked in wine, and one of my favorite comments is, "Oh, this is gonna be the best job. Like, it's so easy." And you think of film as being, you know, similar because that's the energy that you get from it, but there's a lot of intention to put that energy into it. So I would say on the colder nights, I had a hard time drumming up the fun vibe, but that's part of it. I just wore as much layers as I could underneath my uniform. I think at some point it must have looked like, you know, one of those like snow outfits where you see the kids waddle across the street.
Well, at least you had
nobody else is from the East Coast, so maybe they've never seen a kid overstuffed like that, but that's how I felt. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, Ryan, when I asked if you were all having fun, you were shaking your head like, yep.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. You know, just every day on set, it was, I don't know, we formed such a bonding because the gang, we had a lot of rehearsals. So it was, by the time we actually got to set, we knew each other really well. We had you know, I don't know what you call it, charisma together, you know, right? Yeah. So by the time we got to set, it was just a blast. And, you know, I've known Manuel for years, so just working with him again was really a lot of fun. So
yeah, Leah, like talk about the preparation that y'all did. How much time did you really have to prepare to like really get into your roles?
Yeah, I mean, I was really thankful that we had a fair amount of rehearsal time, which is rare on a film like this. So we would meet up and run through the script with each other ahead of time. For me, personally, I had kind of a different prep because I was playing this character who has some kind of mental illness going on. And so I would, I was trying, you know, I was playing it that she has these like voices going on in her head. And so I had recorded a track of me like muttering things to myself, you know, like, you know, stop it, you know, no, don't do that. Don't look at him, you know, like these kinds of things. And I would wear headphones around and just imagine that this is my world with like all these voices going on. So that was what my prep looked like.
How about you, Jesse?
Yeah, it's true. The prep was terrific. It felt a lot more like preparing for a play than it did a film. And being able to, because it was such an ensemble piece, being able to have this time to kind of suss out the nuance of each individual character was a blast. I mean, like in the rehearsal process, you know, like finding like, oh, maybe this guy's really depressed, like maybe he's suicidal, you know, and he's emotional, but he's stoic, you know, and just kind of finding ways to
I remember that was really fun for you to kind of like, you start out, I mean, that's something that you don't often get in film, right? Is the time to go through the different iterations and then land on a character, which you get like in a play, night after night, you're doing it and you find these different colors and tones and things to bring to it. And so,
yeah, especially for a character that I mean, all of the characters were written with such finesse, but you know, like the bad guy kind of role, to find a way to take that and elevate it to something that hopefully for the time that it's there is, you know, kind of unique or feels real. Like I just want it really to feel like, oh, like what is going on with this guy?
Yeah, to jump in there too, that was actually one of my favorite parts of making the movie too, was the rehearsal process with everybody, for the reason you're talking about, Jesse. You know, we put a lot of time into writing the characters, but they moved even further before we started shooting the movie because of what you all brought to them. And that was like one of the most rewarding and exciting parts for me of seeing it come to life like that. So
yeah, there was, in fact, to jump in on that, during the rehearsal, like the moment where like my character in the script has a line about how the like beachside resort in the sky. He's making a threat and he's saying, you know, and you're going to check in if I don't get that car. And at some point in the rehearsal, Manuel was, you know, like we're playing with like this character's sense of depression and alcoholism. And he was like, what if you say that you're going to check yourself in? you know, and it was like, oh yeah, that's great. Like we kind of revolve things around like, yeah, like I'm right on the cusp, and that kind of instability, being able to play that, you know, like it's brings a lot of fun to play, and also hopefully makes the character a little bit more dangerous because he's unstable.
Yeah. Jesse or Tyson and I had a rehearsal with Jesse like before we even started, and we did one of the scene where, you know, he kind of catches us in the house. And I remember I was so excited after that rehearsal because I was already scared of Jesse at that time. So I was like, this is gonna be great because I'm already intimidated by this guy, you know. But then actually my character kind of flips and she doesn't really care. But it was actually super helpful. And like Tyson and I, this was our first movie, so we were lucky enough to like get to, you know, Jesse has experience and stuff. So it was actually like cool on all aspects to have those rehearsals that Manuel like set up for us as like a cast. And
Yeah, I remember asking Jesse and Leah a bunch of questions because I was just like, I just need to get this right. And they were the go-to guys for sure.
But you know what, Tyson and Shelby, this is your first movie, and you're both so like you're both so good at it. You're so natural. You know, your characters are so fully realized, and your performances are so committed. So I want to ask, starting with you, Tyson, I want to ask, like, what was your point of connection to Mike? How did you like get this guy? Like, how did you relate so you could really give this committed performance?
I went back in time to my middle school, early high school years. I was a very shy, to myself kid. Didn't really want anyone in my box, in my space. And so that's pretty much how I kind of used my own kind of self-experience to bring an actual person to life. Because I don't know, I just feel like it started with me, and I just had to figure out where that was and what part of my life that was. So it definitely using those years of my livelihood as Mike. That and just being I don't know, just unaware of stuff, because I could be really like unaware of where am I going with this. See, stuff like that. That's, I don't know, I just feel like, because who's it? Manuel pointed it out one day. He's like, sometimes you just naturally are Mike. Because I'm just like, I guess I am.
You have the same naive, disposition that he did, which I also had too at that age as well. So I don't know. And that was funny. Like when you auditioned for the role, I remembered you just introduced yourself. Hi, my name is Tyson. I'm reading for the part of Mike. I don't have anyone to read with me, so I hope that's okay. And that's when I was sold. You hadn't even read the lines yet, but you had. I could see the character inside of you, so that was really cool.
Well, Manuel, tell us about casting Shelby as Kelsey.
Yeah, well, I mean, Shelby, why don't you? Do you want to tell the story of your audition? Because I thought it was a great audition tape.
Yeah. Well, I sent in a tape, and I learned in class, really look at your notes, your scene breakdown when you audition, and it was a self-tape. So I was in my room. This is before I had a ring light and natural light. I did it at like 10 p.m. or something. It was so dark. Don't recommend it. It was so bad. But I had noticed in the script that my character was boxing, like hitting a punching bag before my scene started. So I was like, well, I gotta do it, I have no boxing experience. So I literally was just like air punching, and it's just so bad. I mean, I don't know what Manuel saw in that, but I was like, the worst air punching you could imagine. And I just went with it. And then I was like, I got myself winded enough, and then I think it was okay.
Well, you were one of the few who actually went that far, and you dressed appropriately. Like you put in a lot of effort, and it was cool to see. But it was just the essence of the character was there. I actually didn't know that you were a naturally timid person, because when I watched that tape, and then when you walked into to the in-person audition we did, the way you carried yourself and your attitude, it felt like Kelsey, and that was really cool. And you did some really subtle things with your performance as well. So yeah, it's a pretty easy decision.
I I gotta say that screen test, that I was so nervous, man. I've never. I was like, I'm like, there's another guy going up from like a lot of pressure that day.
So,
Yeah,
so like,
there was like a girl. I mean, I was like, I don't know what look they're going for Kelsey, but I was just. I remember a girl came out, didn't look like me at all, and I was like, okay, like I don't know what's happening.
It wasn't about the look at all. It was just about the chemistry between the two. So that was the final thing we did, was we got them together and did a screen test in Darren's garage, and we filmed the scene where they're sitting in the car talking to each other finally, you know, like towards the end of the night, and they just had the chemistry, you know, and I was getting excited filming that. I got excited cutting it together, and we just knew. And it was really cool also to shoot that scene towards the end of the whole journey, to see how far you both had come as actors too. So it was really special.
I remember it felt right with TYSON versus the other guy was great too, but it just felt better when I read the scene with TYSON.
I love the mentioning of all the chemistry.
It's
because
great. Yeah.
I think Shelby can probably attest to this, and Leah, I think, definitely can. Women read a lot of casting calls that just say what we're supposed to look like. That's all. So like, you know, it's natural to be really concerned, especially early on, you know, going to your first auditions, thinking like, do I look right? Is this the image? But like, you totally had the energy. And I love that you said you felt the chemistry, that you got to read with someone else and you had the contrast. It wasn't like Manuel had already, you know, picked TYSON out.
Yeah.
Until that moment.
Yeah, definitely. Like I could feel it. It was good. Way better.
But there's a chemistry that you all have with each other. Like as the night goes on, as Mike just like gets himself into a bigger and bigger hole and things just get more out of control. Like everybody that Mike comes in contact with, there's just a great dynamic and a great chemistry. And it's just like they really don't make movies like this anymore. You know, and I mean that it's a true indie in the best possible sense. So Ryan, like, what was it like working with Manuel and with Darren? Because you have two directors.
Yeah, they were on the same page like 99% of the time. So really, it was it was really like talking to one the whole time, because they were in agreement that every once in a while they would talk to each other and then give you a note. So it wasn't like they were ever in disagreement in front of you, but you could tell maybe there was some sort of something going on there. But yeah, they just worked so well together, and it was kind of fun to watch them tag team on the directing aspect of it, and kind of guiding us and whatnot. It was it was a blast.
Leah, what about you? Like, what you and Jesse? What was it like working with not one director but two directors? How does that dynamic bring out better performances in you when you're working with two directors?
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo what Ryan said, which is that the two of them worked really well together. It was clear that they had like figured all of this out. They had a really clear vision and direction, that they knew the tone that they were going for. They had figured out everything ahead of time. So it really was easy. It really didn't feel like I was going like, oh, who do I go to? Who do I talk to? And both of them, I mean, I don't remember, maybe there was like a bunch of conflict happening like behind the scenes that I didn't see, but for the most part, I mean, obviously there are like stressors with trying to pull off something like this, but both of them were really like reliable, even keel guys that I could go to at any time with anything. They were super collaborative, and yeah, it was really great. It wasn't an issue at all.
Yeah, that's true. I think the relationship dynamic between the two of them, they're a really good pair. And from an acting standpoint, it's, at least for me, that there's something nice about knowing that you've got like two people watching, you know, and it's not like if two people are in agreement that it's going well, then I can feel, you know, twice as secure that, okay, like, you know, if
they
one
both
person,
liked it, yeah.
both people are really solid and secure about that take, we're moving on, and I feel confident.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, I mean, it really was quite easy working with Darren. Like I said, we're really good friends, and we have similar taste and just mutual love of filmmaking. And we all both also kind of came up through filmmaking in the same way, in sort of this Robert Rodriguez, like, you know, do-it-yourself sort of way. So it was really nice for me to know that no matter how few crew members we had on any given day, between the two of us, we could accomplish every technical and, you know, directing task that needed to be taken care of to make the movie. And that was what gave me the courage to even make the movie in the first place, you know, because I knew we both had that experience and that similar background. If it had just been me, I may not have, you know, been confident enough to take the leap. So it was a great partnership.
I like when you say too few, that really just mean like the two of you. Like, I mean, that was certainly another.
There was, so it was interesting with our set. There was maybe a few days where it was just Darren and I behind the camera. So not the whole time though. Of course, the bigger things, we had a much larger crew. So.
Well, I'll just say one other thing is that it was very clear that you two trusted each other. And so even though it was just the two of you on set some days, you know, and the two of you are collaborating on everything, I did really feel a super high level of trust. And that also made me trust the process, the project, the two of you. It was really special. Yeah.
You know, I got to say, when Manuel was talking about there were days where it was just you and Darren behind the camera, Shelby, you were nodding your head. Like, so like, did that make it easier for you when you didn't have too much crew on the set, when you only had a really small contingent there? Did it make you feel more comfortable?
I think, yeah. I mean, one of the first days that we filmed, I want to say it was just the two of them. This was, you know, yeah, I think on one of the first days we maybe had Andrew there, sound guy, and maybe he was there, but it was Darren and Manuel, I feel like, quite a bit when Tyson and I would film. And it was nice because, you know, I was nervous, and I just, like, kind of like what Leah said, like, you can just feel like they respect each other, and like they're on the same page. So it was really nice. I feel like they kind of balance each other, you know, like Darren will have something and Manuel kind of will chip in. And then it just kind of works. I feel like a lot of the direction did come from Manuel though. So it was nice to have Darren there too, to just kind of like be there as a second opinion, like what Jesse said. And it just does kind of make you feel more comfortable and more intimate when there's only two. Cause some of, you know, the big shootout days, there was so many people there and so many actors. And so when it was just me, Tyson, and Manuel and Darren, like it was really nice.
You know, Tyson, I got to say, you really go through the ringer with this movie. It's a very physical role for you. What was it like shooting some of those physical scenes? Because I'm watching the film and I know it's an independent movie, and I'm thinking like, that looks like it hurt.
It was honestly a dream come true. I told Manuel several times, it's like, you have no idea. Like, the little kid inside of me is so hyped because I was a kid who grew up, you know, watching the Michael Bay movies and all the action. And I'm like, I want to be a stunt actor and Tom Cruise, this, and that. And so, yeah, just seeing like the stunts in the film and certain scenes, I was like, do I get to do these? He's like, yeah, if you want to. And I was just like, sick. Yeah, so all the stuff that you see me doing, most of it was me. There was a couple car scenes where I wasn't driving at all, but which is fine because I got to do everything else.
Hanging out of the car.
Yeah. But other than that, like, it was so fun. It was just like a playground, honestly. They taught me how to do certain stunts. Shout out to TC, stunt guy, stunt coordinator. He's really great to work with and kept me really safe and confident to do certain things, like jumping out the window. Looks easier at first. It looked really high up, and I was like, I don't know. And then I just kind of hucked it and did it. Now I snowboard. That's another story. But so like jumping off stuff is really fun to do now. All the way based from that movie. It makes it I don't know, just have adrenaline rush all the time. So yeah.
Then were the stunts in First Date your leaping point? Oh, ouch. Had to say it.
Got it. Yeah. Actually, Nicole, I was going to ask you because Leah was talking about trust. So working on a independent movie and outside of the system, not in LA, not in New York, like how much did trust play a factor in at least your performance and engaging with everybody else and your directors?
It's huge. It's really huge. And there were a number of people that I had worked with, at least been on set with before, if I didn't work, in a scene with them. But there were a lot of new people. And actually, that was one of my favorite things when I did read the script is there was a lot of the short films and stuff that I had done before that. The ensemble cast isn't really, they're all background. They're not really on ensemble. And so this was the true ensemble where like everyone really does have a rich story and a rich singular attitude of their own. And all of those actors do as well. And the intimacy of the smaller scenes, of course, is its own thing. And there's something really like rich and genuine about that. But I actually loved the scenes where I got to see everybody. And I don't know if that's also because of, there's somewhat of a social aspect. You take a 5-minute break, you can feel the energy in the room more. There is a buzz with that many people there. So, for some of the big scenes where everybody's there, those are just my favorite. Although I wanted to say there was one night with Tyson where I just watched him like flop around on the ground like a fish, and it was just, I got all like, yeah, I just got so excited. Like if you've ever seen a toddler watch someone do something physically cool for the first time, like how they're like, that's amazing. I didn't even know bodies could do that. Like that was basically what I was doing watching him.
Well, I was going to ask Ryan, because, for much of the time, Mike is with this person, is with that person, but then there are moments when you all come together and the whole cast is together. So like, what were those days like when everybody was together?
It was magic. So we had, I think, 2 days of rehearsal for that big fight scene at the end, the warehouse scene. And then I think we shot that for 5 days. So up to that point, I'd only been with the gang and then Mike every once in a while. And then all of a sudden, we're all together, and a lot of these people are friends of mine that I've worked with before, and I got to meet new people, and it was it was really cool. So we were all huddled around these heaters, and it was kind of like being at camp at night, telling ghost stories and stories, just about our lives. And then they'd say, "Hey, we need you on set," so we run out and get up the energy and warm up to go do your take, and then you run back. And I mean, it was as cold as it could have been really miserable, but I think everybody there just sharing their stories and being together really made it, these long nights go quick, and it was magic. That's it.
I also have to say, we all make Cole look very warm and hot. So good job to everyone doing that.
Yeah. So
kind of came to our advantage when we had to look scared, I feel, Tyson. Like, because I was like shivering in the scene. I'm like, I'm so scared now.
we had to cut around a few breaths that you could see at some points in the movie because we thought we were going to be shooting that scene in October, got pushed back to January. So everyone in short sleeves.
I'm like, why didn't my character grab a jacket tonight?
Also, Graham doing the scene in the tank top with the man.
Yeah, shout out to Graham Greene who played Roger. Not only did he play Roger, he also worked on the crew for a little while. But his scene in the movie in the tank top was very, very, very cold for him, and he did an awesome job not making it seem that way on screen. So thank you, Graham.
How about Jesse and Leah for you? Like, what was it like during doing the scenes, like where you're all together? Like, cause like when that happens, a lot goes on.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the energy was, it was fun because we shot that last, like that, everything up to that point is very intimate. Even the scenes where we've got like the gang is together, but the scenes themselves are usually very intimate and they feel very intimate. And of course the crew itself, mainly just being the two of them, kept things feeling so small. So then to move from that to this like really enormous,
we've got like gun wranglers, we have this huge lighting crew.
Yeah, and
not huge, but
a kind of nervous excitement that went along with the basically I knew that this scene was probably like the majority of their budget, and that that we had like a handful of times to do it, and it had to all happen, you know, in these great big long takes. And so, you know, it was fun choreographing all of that and getting it all down. And but I know that it was also, at least for myself, it was like once action hit, you know, when it's so small and you can do a lot of takes, there's a lot of like the apprehension is gone. But for that, it was like, don't fuck this up.
To jump in real quick on Jesse's point, we only had the budget and to get enough blank ammunition to do about 1.5 takes for every shot in which a gun is going off. So the pressure was certainly on, which translated to the performances on the screen, I feel. Anyway, sorry, not to interrupt you, Leah, but
yeah, I mean, it was really cool. I loved that was the final thing that we got to do, because it kind of felt like the whole movie culminated to this big shootout. Like our whole shooting process culminated to this thing where we're all there. We've got so much crew, you know, the things are shooting, everything's so exciting. And there's something also that just being there, you don't really see it in the film, but we're inside this big like airport hangar. I guess it's not, if you're thinking of like a huge airport hangar, you're thinking too big, but like, you know, but it's bigger than it appears on screen. And so there was something about like, we're all chatting, it's kind of quiet and, you know, this kind of intimate thing. And then as soon as they call action, it's like, boom, 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 people are yelling and screaming, and it's so big and loud and fun. And like everyone's adrenaline is running and we're all like, we got to get this take. And it was just a really fun way to like have that be kind of technically our final scene together.
Yeah, especially with like, because I've been in scenes where there's a gun being fired, but these days like most people do that in post, and so, you know, like you're there and you're gritting, you're pulling the trigger, but it's dead quiet. And there was something really cool about when action hit and everybody's firing those guns with those blanks in them. I mean, it's just
so loud
cacophony of sound. And it really, like, for the adrenaline to be spiked was very easy.
Effective, yeah.
I gotta ask, Manuel, how many shooting days did you have on first date?
That's a weird question to answer, because sometimes, so we all of us, you know, cast, crew, everybody, myself and Darren, all kept our day jobs while making the movie. So sometimes, and since a lot of it takes place at night, you know, sometimes everyone would get off work depending on what time of year it was, we had more or less time of dark, right? And then so everyone would come out to Valley Springs, which is where we shot, which is actually where both Darren and I grew up as well. But most of the actors were coming from Sacramento, about an hour away. So, you know, they'd make the trek out, and then we'd maybe film for a couple hours if we had like a night scene or something we had to do. So we probably, you know, if you were putting it into a traditional like movie type of shooting schedule, maybe like somewhere between 40 to 50 days, but it's really hard for me to say. I honestly, I couldn't really tell you.
Well, it's amazing that you made the job like separate from the day job. But Shelby, like, what do you hope people get from the movie when they see it?
I just hope that they like have fun, because it's just such a fun movie. And I feel like there's so much in the world. Like, this just came out at a great time, because as you're watching it, you kind of just are like focusing on all the different avenues going on in the movie. I just feel like you're just like, you don't really think. Maybe it's just me, but I'm just kind of like honed in on like what I'm watching. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of feel like it's just a fun ride for people to go on. I feel like the comedy is so good, and like it just kind of takes you away for that hour and like 40 minutes. And so I just want people to have like a good time watching it and just to enjoy it.
How about you, Tyson?
Let's see. I would say believe in oneself, because you're capable of more than what you think sometimes. So like with Mike, at the very beginning of the movie, he's underneath the water. Okay. At the end of the movie, he's finally like, oh, I can swim and I can breathe in oxygen and all this stuff. So just believing in yourself and don't worry about being too afraid of the world. Worry about yourself in a sense. If that makes, I hope that makes sense.
That makes great sense. So first, y'all just give yourselves a round of applause because this movie is just fantastic. I loved it. I was so happy to moderate this conversation. Big thanks to Magnolia Pictures. Big thanks to Film Independent. So make sure you spread the word about First Date, which is in theaters everywhere and on demand starting July 2nd. You can go to firstdatethemovie.com to find out more about the film. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for a great conversation on First Date.